Balaam, as is called in, say, in most of the English transliterations, is, so to may call it, one of the heroes, at least one of the personalities of the Bible, and the story about him, the main story, which is given quite a piece of the in the Bible, in the book of Numbers to be exact, is the story that he is the king of Moab at the time, which is bordering the land of Israel. Is very scared of the Jewish camp. There are a huge number of people, and he is scared that they are going to harm him. And he wants to do something against them, but he's too weak. He's king of a small country. So the only way he finds is to find a person who was famous for his, as a sorcerer, as a kind of a mage, as some kind of a great a person with great powers, and he hired him to curse the Jewish people. So he goes for a long distance. He comes to the land of Moab from quite a distance of many kilometers, and he's asked to curse the people. But he says beforehand, he's a prophet, among other things. So he cannot do it on his own. He has to get a message from above. But he thinks that he can at least, how to say it, he can maneuver things in this way. But he gets a very clear message that he shouldn't curse the people, but rather bless them. So he's doing a series of it goes in the whole section of the Bible in which he blesses the Jewish people one time and the other, and the king is so infuriated with him, and he says, okay, I promise you, if you are cursing them, I promise you everything, money and power and everything else. Now go back home. You didn't do any good. So that's mostly the story. His prophecies are important enough to be included in the Bible, because his prophecies, except for the very high language and for the many blessings that he puts on the Jewish people, are also blessings that deal with the future and the far future, and possibly to the end of days. So they are very important prophecies. Now, the story of Balaam doesn't finish there. He seems to stay there. He gives, even though he was asked by the Lord to bless the Jews, and he's doing that because he's a prophet, so he says only what he gets as a message, he still didn't like the Jews. So he gives the king of Moab an advice what you can do against them, and he says you can fight them, but you can make them sin. They arrange a whole troop, many thousands of girls, to entice the Jewish people. And so the girls do a very good job of it. See, seemingly it wasn't too hard. I don't know why, how they were looking, but that's something else. And the sin, and they have there's a punishment. Many of them die in a famine, in a pest that comes later on, but Balaam stays in the place, and eventually, when the people of Israel take vengeance against these Midianites, they also catch him, and they kill him. So that's his end is that Balaam the sorcerer was killed by the Jews there. So that's the story about him. Now, in many ways, as a personality, as a hero of the Bible, is very unusual one, because even in the Bible, his picture, if you take the whole picture, this whole image, is not terribly say, exciting or exalted, surely not. So, and now the rabbis in the Midrashim added some of the things that was not written in the Bible directly, but they added to it all kind of dirty things. That he was a dirty man, as much as a person could be dirty. So he was. See, why take such a person like this? That is, whenever he's mentioned in later stories, is mentioned as an example of a bad person, not just a person that was yielding to his desires, but a bad person in essence. Now, surely not a saint. He's not depicted as a saint. But on the other hand, he's a great prophet. The prophecy is so important to be included in the Bible. And it's included also sometimes in the Jewish prayers. So it's a very high prophecy. And we see it as a very, very truthful prophecy with a person that is whatever he was. He was a person that was not to take all the other stories about it, but a man is really led by his pride. He has lots of that, or lots of pride, and lots of, see, he's greedy for money. That is clear. And then the end of the story shows he has no moral scruples. So this is the person. Now, in one hand, what are the stories about him? It's not clear whether he was. It's a matter of wording and exploring the text, whether he was blind. He was blind in one eye, but he says, "I'm the person with the open eye. I see everything. I can prophesy, and I speak what God says to me." And the point is that God speaks to him and gives to him some of the highest messages for the Jewish people, indirectly. So the name of Balaam is incidentally mentioned in other parts of the Bible as a story to get some moral from it. But on the other hand, see, he's strange in so many ways. One of them is, do you expect a prophet to be such a dirty person? He's a dirty person, but he's a prophet. This is one thing. The second one is, why did Balak, the king of Moab at the time, why did he call only him? He seemingly had his own staff of sorcerers and other things. Of course, Balaam was the Einstein of the sorcerers. He was the great sorcerer, but still, it was very expensive. And the story is that he was promised any money he wants. He was promised any honor he wants, and the king sent to him the highest people as messengers to fetch him. But still, why he? So one of the explanations about why he is, it goes into it's in a way it explains something about the Bible. See, even though the Bible doesn't mention it clearly, but against what people may believe. But when you read through the Bible, and I try always to entice people to do some reading of it, except for all the things, except for the holiness. It's such a good book that's surely better than most of the books that people will encounter in their lives. So just read once in a while a real good book instead of reading all kind of trash that you read usually. But it's not only that. So in the Bible, you see, there is the figure of Abraham. And Abraham puts, because he's from the same country, also from the northern Syria, is mentioned sometimes in the later writings as a counterpoint, and the other side of Balaam. See, there's Abraham and the disciples of Abraham, who are nice people, and the Balaam and his disciples, who are the bad, the vicious people. So the point is that if it, as it is mentioned in the Bible, if you read it carefully, Abraham was not the person who invented monotheism. In fact, in the Bible, and it goes very well with any kind of anthropological evidence from all over the world, the basic belief of humanity is monotheistic. In the most primitive tribes, they believe in one God. When they become sophisticated, they begin to become polytheistic. But basically, the basic belief of humanity is a belief in one God. It's not a very, sometimes very primitive belief, but it goes from the pygmies in the middle of Africa to the people of Tierra del Fuego at the end of Argentina. That is the basic belief of people. Now, when Abraham came to the world, he was coming in the world that was fairly sophisticated. It didn't have many of the mechanics of our time. But see, in the time of Abraham, which people don't know, but we found the things that they have international banking system. We have checks. They were written on clay, but checks with envelopes written from one part of the country to the other part, big distances. So it was sophisticated. They had a literature, they had philosophy, and so on. Now, when Abraham came, he came in a way that sometimes comes in our times. He came from the most sophisticated education, and he came to uphold the old religion that only the old women believed in, the monotheistic religion. And here comes a young man and a successful person, and he goes and preaches about one God, and all the others are just trash and nothing. So this was, now there were still people that had the same belief. Seemingly the king of Jerusalem of that time, Melchizedek, was also a believer of the same thing. So when the people tried to match them together, and it seems that Balaam was also a believer in the old religion. So they took him because they knew, see, God is taking the Jews out of Egypt. All the gods, all the polytheistic gods, all of them, the Egyptians and the other ones, they are collapsing. They don't have any avail against him. So in order to find something to deal with the Jews, they try to bring in somebody that has the same God. So that was the belief in that. And so they brought Balaam. Balaam as a person, to speak about it. So Balaam is in one way, he's a prophet. He's a sorcerer. He's possibly a nasty kind of a person in any way you would, but he's a prophet. So it means that the gift of prophecy, at least in some places, is not connected with holiness. It is a kind of a gift. It's not simple clairvoyance. It's not simple what I call ESP, but it is a very high power of the spirit, of the human spirit, but not of the holiness of the soul. So a person can be, on one hand, a great prophet, which means he has this extraordinary ability to perceive, to understand, to get the messages from the very high heaven without being anything as a person in himself. So later on, among the Jewish prophets, and this goes on also, to say it in a very short way, it was also about, say, a Jewish saint cannot be a saint only in worshiping God, or him doing prayers, or him performing miracles. That doesn't make him a saint. If he's not all in all a saintly person, which means his relationship with people, his relationship with money, the relationship with his family, if he's not saintly there, he cannot become a saint. He's not our saint. And so the same thing is, our prophets are always people that are checked. That's the first check. If the person is blemished as a person, then you cannot believe him as a prophet. He cannot be a prophet. God doesn't speak to him. But it seems that is a very special condition that the Almighty has from his own people and from his own prophets, because others can have the gift without other qualities. Lehavdil, let's say, to make the distance between things. See, to be saintly, and as the way we take it, is a saintliness is a matter that is a whole personality. The whole persona has to be saintly. And the whole persona is not to be great, but to be saintly. Now, when we come to other aspects, does it mean that a great artist is a saintly person? No, a great artist also has a gift of God. But the gift of God is to do wonderful paintings. He himself can be the dirtiest of people, and even a stupid person. That is written. One of the small notes about it is written in a book by Plato. It's called Symposium, and where Socrates speaks about it, says there are many people who are wonderful poets and wonderful writers. They themselves are quite stupid people. They have the gift, but it doesn't mean anything about them. So we have it in so many fields. We have a person is given a divine gift of art, of beauty, of understanding, of mathematics or other fields. What does it mean about the person himself? The person himself can be indifferent. The person himself, see, to be a champion chess player, it doesn't mean that you are a holy person. And to be a famous sculptor, you don't have it in the same way, or to be a great mathematician. You may happen to be a nice person, or you may happen to be anything else. It seems that in a certain level, outside our world, there is the notion of, there is a person who can, as it says it, he can see the highest image. He says, God speaks to me and I'm repeating it. So that is true. And he says what God says to him, even though he is, as a vessel, is good for one thing. See, it's like, see, the most beautiful Stradivarius cannot be used as a writing implement, or to do anything else that is worthy. The only thing that it can do is play. It can play. So in that sense, this type of a prophet is exceptional, because he can be a prophet, nothing else. As a person, there may be, as it is in this picture, a person that has not just extraordinary intellectual gifts, or emotional gifts, or artistic gifts, and the person that has perhaps the super important gift, which is the ability to listen to what God says. And still, it is a gift. Now, the story of Balaam, as the personality of Balaam and what we know about him, is a kind of it is a complete description of the same thing. The person is a vessel to do something which is exalted, but it's a vessel for a message. Is not in himself, is not worth much. So that is in a way not only about Balaam. See, if we speak about Balaam is kind of a symbol, Balaam is a person which is in certain ways is a mediocre person, or even less than mediocre person. He has this very special gift. Now, that is for being included in the Bible, not only the prophecy, but even the story of the person himself. It's a great message. See, it's a great message, which means being an important person with great achievements in one field and another field. You can be not just a simple doctor, but you can be a very, 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 very high and important professor. You can be a Nobel Prize winner. You can be an artist that your pictures are shown in any museum. You can be a pianist that people will faint because of the beauty of your playing. But what does it mean about you as a person? Nothing. So there are gifts in different levels, one gift and another gift. And there's something else which is we are not when we are trying to find all kinds of special gifts. Okay, you have gifts. Some people are strong, and some people are beautiful, and some people have other qualities, even intellectual qualities, even emotional qualities. But there is another kind of measurement, which is the measurement, what we call it, and what is that person in himself. And that is a very different measurement. And therefore, the story of Balaam is, in a way, it makes us aware of the difference between what a person, what he has as qualities as other possessions, and what he is in himself. So that is not just an important message. You see, when it says in the book of Jeremiah, it says the wise shouldn't be praised for his wisdom. The hero shouldn't be praised for his powers. The rich shouldn't be praised for his money. In that a person can be praised when he understands and knows me, says the Lord. So that's a kind of different. It says it doesn't say that riches is not good, or that physical power is not good, or that wisdom is no good. He said that is not. If one wants to find what is really matters is this kind of, what is the connection, say, between, say, man and God, not as a message, because God sends all kinds of gifts to the world in every field, in every way. But the gifts doesn't mean that the person has anything more than the gift. So it's a matter of dealing with each other, looking at each other, and checking who is really not who is noteworthy, who is famous. Lots of people are famous, bad and good, but who is worthy. So that's including that special piece in the Bible, in the Chumash, is more than just a story. It's a story which has not only what it says has a great moral, but it says lots of things what it doesn't say. Here is a person who is so exalted and so talented, he can even say that when he falls asleep he gets the vision of the Lord. He can see what will happen in the future. And when he speaks to the king, he says, "You stand up and listen to me, because I have a message, and the message is not for now. I see it from a distance and a bigger distance." And he's all of that is right. But he's a vessel he's like a microphone. you don't attribute any holiness to the microphone. So that is what Balaam is, and that is a part of the story of Balaam, which is learning about the limits of power, even the limits of divine power, what it means and what it doesn't mean, and what are the things that really have merit. Some of them are those small people or meek people, and people that are sometimes you say, this is a good person. That is what the Lord wants. And all the rest they're beautiful creatures. See, a tiger is formidable, in a way also good looking. But I don't want to live with a tiger. See, what I want is somebody that is, I would say, good and wise and reasonable and understanding and so on. That's what I want. So the tiger will stay in the zoo. And those people that they should understand and should connect with are those people that are perhaps not so famous, not so expressive, but they are the right people. We have a responsibility. And the head of Balaam is, you see, Balaam is stabbed among all kinds of other villains that he enticed people to do it. So he says, if you want to make a big judgment, so see, the person with the great gifts doesn't get an immunity and shouldn't get an immunity. He has great gifts, but what is he and what did he do? And if he's bad, and if his advice was malicious, and if his deeds were bad, so the fact that he is, whatever it is, brilliant, powerful, so it doesn't mean that he has to be forgiven. These are modern time villains. See? Modern time villains. I'm saying Balaam is in that sense. He's not a person that you can see. He's all around bad. He's not all around bad. He has all kinds of good qualities, sometimes shining qualities, but he's still a villain. And that's what I'm saying. When I'm saying in modern time, it's not obvious. He's not a killer by whatever you see it. He's an enticer. He's the advisor of the head of the mafia. He's not killing anybody. So I'm saying that's all in all. It's a modern type fellow, but he's a modern type person, which is. You don't deny his high qualities, and you cannot be denied. You cannot deny his ability, but you can't question his morality. And that is very common. It's one of the strangest stories which the donkey is speaking to Balaam, and the donkey sees the angel, while Balaam doesn't see it. See, on one hand, it is surely a kind of a satiric picture. See, the great prophet who sees into high heaven cannot see the angel stopping him in the way, but the donkey sees it. So sometimes because, in a way, he's too proud to look. The donkey is not so that proud. So the donkey can see. It's also something else about this. It's about see, a person sometimes is, say, proud, arrogant, and doesn't really look what is there. The donkey doesn't see everything, but the donkey has a feel about things that happen, which sometimes happens to animals that feel things. So the point is that when the donkey speaks to Balaam and defends itself, the donkey defends himself, says, "We are so friendly. Why do you hit me?" Now it says, "Because you pushed me into the sidewalk, pushed me this way." So But here you have the angel coming and saying, okay, so the donkey saw it, the donkey behaved well. You didn't behave well. So, in fact, when he sees the angel, he says, okay, do you want him to go back home? So the angel says, okay, you came all the way, you can go on. So what happens to the donkey? The story again, not in the Bible, but in the later sources, is the donkey died. Donkey didn't continue to make speeches. But because it was something of a startling miracle to tell Balaam that you are really not a great master. So to just be able to accept, and that's what it does in a certain way afterwards. So the story is also about the small and the big, the important, the unimportant, and the great man, the great prophet, the great seer, and the small donkey that is so considered a stupid animal. So it has something to say about those things. So who is to be preferred? See? It seems that the donkey acts with more sense, with more responsibility than the master. So let me just say one thing, which is perhaps it's not completely new, but it is not well known. Of all the people in the Pentateuch, no, we don't have any mention of any of the people of the Pentateuch in outside sources, in other writings or archeological findings. We don't have any of them. See, not Abraham, not Isaac, not Moses. The only person that we have any kind of a mention of is Balaam. And that is very strange, because there is an inscription on a rock in Transjordan, in which there is an inscription written in ancient script, in a language which are, with all the scholars doing it, it is not completely understood, see, not completely understood, because it's a mixture of, it's possibly some kind of a Proto-Semitic language, you see, a very ancient language, which later on the languages became more clear, but this is a very ancient language. And it is high poetry. See, it is a prophecy of Balaam ben Beor, the same person, prophecy of Balaam ben Beor, which is mostly curses. See, mostly curses. So he was. The story is so we have now. None of it is connected with the biblical story. It seems that he was a professional. He was a professional curser. He was taken from great distances to curse other people, and seemingly, see, it was considered very, very effective. So they take him. He was living in Syria, and he was to be taken to Transjordan means something like about 1,000 miles of distance. No cars and no planes. So it is there. So there is such an inscription, which is in a way very strange. It is the same person and the same character, but not anything of the same story, which is the only possibly the only early biblical figure that has some kind of archeological mention. Strange and not completely understood, but that is that. So, and one can find them. They can find the pictures and attempt to translate this piece of prophecy of his in the other way. So in that way, that sense is exceptional.